Right. Hello. So, hopefully this is just going to be a little video to explain a little bit of how to drive this car. Hopefully how it'll be fast and consistent as well. Hate that pit exit. Right. So this is week 2 of the Peak Global, whatever it's called, in the Cadillac. We're at Laguna Seca. Lovely track. Doesn't really suit the setup, the fixed setup of this car, but you know, everyone's in the same boat, so we all make do. You've just seen me fail at improving on any decent qualifying times. At the moment, my optimal around here is a 22.1, which is pretty quick, but there's more to be shaved off that. So I'm just going to run a qualifying lap. Get a little bit of heat in the tyres here, just to kind of show you the lines, the braking points, how to get around this place, hopefully quite fast. So really smooth out of this last corner. Braking really hard at the 4 number board on the right. Kind of point the car towards the apex as you do that. Down through the gears. And keep really tight in. On the throttle quite late. Braking at 2. Turning in when the curb ends. On the throttle just a little bit past the apex. It's quite a tight corner, that one. Coast through here. Right out over the rumble strips. That's pretty good so far. So braking hard here at 3. Again, point the car in. Oh, I've gone far too fast into there. Keep it now. So just kind of outbrake myself a little bit there. Up through the corkscrew, you want to be off this left curb and then to the right. Brake really hard as you come over that hill. Kind of stop the car. Throw it through. All the way out to the curb and then coast around the majority of this, back on the throttle when you hit the curb. Braking at 2, quite early on the throttle here, this one widens. And then hard with the number 2 board. Nice and smooth again out of there. That's a decent lap, that'll be a 22. An invalid 22 though, we went off, 22.9, not too bad. So again, really hard. Down into that one, get it stopped, just. Be quiet a little bit, try and get a decent lap in. So really good so far. Not outbrake myself this time. Nice and hard on the brakes. I've done it again. Never. Usually good around there. Braking just before the 2 here. Kind of chuck it in. Not over. Yeah, not like that at all. Into the wall. And there we go. Lovely. So this is kind of a really hit and miss track. You need to be on the line. If you aren't on the line, if you're too inside, as you just saw, it's not going to end very well. Which is, I think, why we see a lot of crashes around here. The races are kind of... The front of the field seems to be alright, but midfield, back of the pack, it's chaos. Because of how this car reacts to sort of throttle changes, direction changes, and coming on and off the brake. People aren't really consistent with it. So if you're just coming into this car, your first series in the Cadillac, and kind of your first comment is, I've turned in, pressed the throttle, and oh my god, I've gone wide, understeer, understeer. You either are going too fast into corners, so you need to slow down a lot more, or you're being too aggressive with your inputs as well. If you're braking hard down into a corner, you need to come off the brake slowly there's no point slamming on the brake coming straight off, because that's going to totally change the weight distribution. You know, the rear's going to unload and you'll get a lot of kind of lift off oversteer and go spinning off into the tyre wall. You need to be really smooth coming off the brake. You can kind of step on it going into braking zones, because this car's pretty stable under braking. But coming off the brake, you need to be very smooth with that. That's kind of a mistake that you see a lot of people doing. Trying to slam on the brake and then slam off it straight back on the throttle. Which is bad news, so try and put together a decent lap here. A little bit wide. Much better through there this time. There we go. That's the proper line. Now this corner, one of the hardest and most important around the lap. You've got to get that apex just right. I could have stayed on the throttle there, but I was a little bit worried I was going to go wide. Hard on the brake. As you're braking through there and going down the gears, try and avoid shifting down as you go over the crest of the hill. If you do that, you're going to spin the rear wheels up, you're going to lose some braking force. It's going to slow you down a little bit, so this is a good lap so far. Oh, a bit deep. Nice and smooth, yes. So that's a good one. That's going to be well up there with the fastest qualifying time so far, I think. Glad I got that one on video. Oh, aye. See, there we go. Just one wheel on the grass. Or the dirt, whatever it is around here. Watch that on the replay, see if I did actually hit the grass or whether that was just... Where am I? Yeah, see, my left side's on the grass. Throws the car sideways, so... the other thing that kind of only recently dawned on me towards the end of week 1 is how important braking is in this car. Shut up, Facebook. Getting it stopped before the apex, oh Jesus Christ, is very important, and there's two ways that you can slow down into corners. Well, the first thing you need to do is turn off auto blip, which is in the controls or somewhere on the settings menu. Change it to auto clutch. That's going to let you control how much throttle you give when you're under braking. So you can either, if we I'll do an example coming up here, you can either blip the throttle heavily, give it one of those, and that's kind of a more consistent way to slow the car down. If you're looking for stable times, if your tyres are hot, things are getting a little bit hairy, you want to just get it home safe, giving it a really big blip. Keeps the car very stable. But if you're on something like a qualifying lap or a hot lap, or your tyres are good, or you're feeling confident, what you can do is hard on the brakes and just hold the throttle at about 10, 15, 20% and go straight down through the gears, kind of keeping the throttle at the same level. Like that, you'll get that nice noise without blips. And that seems to be the faster way of stopping the car. You can stop the car quicker doing that, but it's a little bit more unstable. So if you're confident with the braking, confident with this car, that's a good tip. That's taken some lap time off some of my laps, definitely. Oh, a little bit wide. I'll lose some time there. Make some of it back. A little bit. That was not very good at all. Lost 2/10 on that one corner. Really chuck it in there. One more lap after this, I think. Ooh, a bit oversteery. Caught it. So not the best lap. Try and improve next time. I'm just going to slow down here because that lap's... I'm never going to improve on anything there. Save the tyres a little bit for this next one. Give the brakes a quick... Keep the brake temperatures up. Nice and smooth out of that last corner. So you want to... I like this wide line into the braking area because it means you can really point the car at this apex. Ah, that's some straight gone. See what I've done there? I'm not going to get another lap in, am I? No. We'll drive around and talk about the car for a little bit. So what I did there, hard on the brakes, turned in before I'd finished braking. So I turned in at the same time I was coming off the brakes. The rear unloads and round we go. That's really common, kind of... It's a little bit unusual to see cars doing things like that. Because this car's so unique in the way it behaves. Just coming off the brakes, going into a turn to spin without even touching the throttle. That's kind of... You would think with a 500 horsepower car that touching the throttle would be what makes you spin, but it's... The odd thing about this car is being on the throttle keeps it more stable. That's another thing, if you're having a lot of trouble keeping just stable corner speeds, you're worried about it understeering, about it oversteering through corners, just hold a little bit of throttle all the way through the corner. So come off the brakes and just hold in a little bit of throttle. Keeps it really flat, really stable. So if you aren't looking for lap times, you're just looking for being able to consistently run 20, 30 laps in a row without spinning. That's a good tip for people to start with. I'm not going to get another official lap here, but I'm just going to give it a go anyway. It's always good practice, isn't it? Tyre's probably a little bit cold here. So just nice and smooth. The rear tried to step out a little bit there, that's under that heavy braking without the blips. But being hard on the brakes loads up the front. You aren't really going to spin when you're on the brakes unless you're doing something very wrong. Bit fast through there, as you can see my split dropped. Committed to that exit. That's another thing about this car, you need to... straight off. You need to learn... Corner exit is kind of the most important thing about running fast lap times. All the guys that you'll see, you're watching a race and he's running lap times a second faster than you. The thing that they are just totally on top of is corner exit. They've got the point at which they're on the throttle absolutely nailed. Every time. Perfect all the way out to the outside. And that's not... It looks like they're not even going very fast. You're like, I could drive like that. I can drive harder than that. Why aren't I faster than that guy? That's because he's just doing it so perfectly. Getting everything out of the car. Because smooth is always faster, remember. It's also better on tyres, so it's a win-win. I'm really going to go for it this lap. Oh, no, same again. See, that's at the point at which you get on the throttle, the car's going to start going wide. So you need to pick that point so perfectly. If you pick it too early, you're going to go wide. If you pick it too late, then you've lost speed coming out of the corner. So it's kind of all about getting your apex right, not apexing too early, because if you're hitting early apexes in something like a single seater, something that can rotate around corners very fast, it's very light, very nimble, it's not too bad if you hit an apex a little bit early. But in this, if you hit an apex early and get on the throttle at the usual point, you're going straight off the track. So I'm trying to straighten the car up as fast as you can coming out the corner, as soon as you're on the throttle, you don't want to be off it again. If you're coming on the throttle and then off it and then on the throttle, that's very slow. And also very unstable as well. You're likely to have a little bit of lift off oversteer and spin the car. Not very good. So let's give it one more lap. One final attempt. Not getting anywhere near this optimal. No, very slow out there. So that was mid-corner there. I just did exactly what I told people not to. I went on the throttle before I was ready to commit to it. I did it again just there. In a race situation, it's kind of alright. If you go on the throttle too early and you recognise it straight away, just go straight back off it. Let the car rotate. If this car rotates around corners, sort of mid-corner, much better if you aren't on the throttle. So as you can see, I'll brake and turn in off the throttle and then on the throttle through the exit. If you're trying to hold the throttle as you're going through the corner, you're just going to push wide, miss your apex. All sorts of bad news. So that kind of links back to what I said about if you want just a stable, reliable drive, holding a little bit of throttle on through the corners, that's going to slow you down quite a lot. You're never going to be top split fast if you're on the throttle through corners. Sometimes it's necessary. There's certain corners on certain tracks where it might be viable to hold a little bit of throttle through the corner, but there aren't really any on this track. And if you can get your car stopped and on an apex and be off the throttle going into the corner, you're always going to get around that corner faster than if you're on the throttle. So that's if you've kind of hit a wall with your driving and you think you're hitting all the right lines, you're hitting all of the acceleration points, your braking's quite good, make sure you're coming off the throttle to help the car rotate. So if I do a little test here, if we just turn in, hold a little bit of throttle, really understeery, I kind of hold the same speed around this corner, come off the throttle, you can see the back of the car starting to rotate, and that really pushes the car, not so much slides the car around the corner, but just helps it get around. And that's that dropped. The most time off my lap times came from knowing when to not be on the throttle. It's kind of counterintuitive to think to go faster you need to not press the throttle down. But once you kind of master the art of coming off the throttle, turn in, coast around the corner, use it to rotate the car, and then back on the throttle, and never off the throttle once you're back on it, your lap times are going to drop very significantly. And if they don't, if you're doing all those things and you're running stable laps like consistently that aren't as fast as some other guys, then start to look at things like your lines around the track. You can learn a lot just by watching people. If there's a guy faster than you in qualifying, sit out for a lap's worth of time and just watch him. See what he does. See his line, see his braking point, see if there's anything dramatically different to your lap. Because if he's 2 seconds faster than you, chances are he's on a different line, he's doing something very different to how you are. And just watching that and trying to imitate it and pick it up will get you very far in this business. Not really a business, but yeah. This is a decent lap, so I'm just gonna go full on for this. Read it now. Yeah, see, there's too early, and I knew it's as soon as I turned in, I knew I was too early. Tried to commit to the throttle anyway, see if on that corner it goes down into a bit of a dip and the road cambers inwards. If you can bounce through that dip, it kind of rotates the car and launches it towards the exit. If you get that just right, you can be on the throttle at the apex, and you'll make it very fast, but it's very tricky to do every time. I'm definitely not trying that in races. So that's a little bit about at least qualifying, setting a hot lap, setting a fast time. We talk about just race pace a little bit. The thing that's going to win you races is just being as smooth as you possibly can. and being consistent as well, because this car is so tricky. If you're running mid-pack, if you nail your consistency, you nail being just smooth onto the throttle out of corners, smooth onto the brakes, smooth off the brakes. If you can nail that, get into a really nice rhythm, time will start flying by. You'll look down, you've done 10 laps, you've not hit any walls, you've probably passed a few people as well. Just getting into that really nice steady rhythm. Specifically on this track, some more lines in a race, I might stay off that curb, stay on the tarmac, a much more stable line. You can get a much easier brake, because obviously you've got two wheels on flat tarmac, you haven't got one wheel sideways hovering off onto a rumble strip. It's going to be much more consistent through the braking, which lets you get an easier turn in as well. But really, race pace in these cars, the tyres do wear. After 3 or 4 laps you really start to notice that the car's wanting to push very wide through exits, and all that means is you just got to make sure you aren't on the throttle too early. That's the being 0.2 of a second late on the throttle is much better than being 0.2 of a second early, because if you're early you're probably going to go off, or you're going to have to brake again mid-corner to stop yourself going off, and you're going to lose so much time by doing that. If I try and do that there, I have to brake, come straight back off it, lost 0.2 of a second, 0.3 by the time you get to the next corner. But just being smooth, picking your acceleration points and kind of trusting that the car is going to pull round and meet that outside apex. See through there, not as fast, lost coming up on 2/10 up this hill because I took that line, but in a race you aren't going to be running optimal times, you're not going to be setting world records in a race. There's no point trying to absolutely fly through every corner, use the crazy lines through every corner, because all it's going to do is ruin your race when you do it wrong. If you lose 2/10 to a guy in front of you, you can make that up somewhere else when he makes a mistake, or where you hit a corner perfectly. There's no point trying to throw this car around the lap, trying to do hot laps, qualifying world records every time, because you aren't going to win races like that. You're probably not going to finish races if you drive like that either. And in this car, it's so unstable. Even the best guys, I've seen 5,000, 6,000 rating guys running in front of me. They're so smooth, they're so consistent, and just one lapse in concentration, one corner, they're on the throttle too late, they come off the brakes too hard, and they're spinning into a wall, and their race is over. You know, it happens to everyone. So, really quick recap. Braking, if you want to be consistent and be smooth and be easy, big blips on the way down. If you want to be fast, just hold that 10-15% throttle, maybe not even that. You got to hold some, because if you're not holding enough it won't downshift. See there, I'm pressing the downshift, maybe about 5%, it was not working, so you need to be at a certain level, but just hold that as you brake. And it's also going to stabilise the rear a little bit as well, putting a little bit of power through the rear wheels. It's not that unstable compared to giving it big blips and matching the revs perfectly. Turn in, need to be very smooth, off the brake, very smooth, slow, smooth turn in. You never any of this. You don't want to go down into this corner, right? I've hit my brake, straight in. You don't really want to be doing any of that. It's always going to be faster if you gradually, smoothly turn in. It's going to save your tyres as well. So even if going like that is going to make you 0.1 of a second faster on this lap, it's going to heat your tyres up so much that you might lose half a second over the rest of the race. It's not even worth it. You're going to slow yourself down by trying to go fast. You're going to go slower. Kind of backwards thinking a little bit, but but that's how it ends up. Throttle, if you're having trouble being stable through corners, just hold a little bit of throttle through the corner. Not much, you'll kind of get the hang of it once you give it a few goes. That's going to keep the rear loaded, keep the dampers working and hold you on that track. Much stable. You're not going to, if you're on the throttle a little bit like this, you're going to understeer every time before you oversteer. If you're off the throttle, let's just give the car a little spin coming in here. I'm hard on the brakes, well, it didn't spin, but that's a bad example of a corner to do that on. So if I got hard on the brakes in here, I've gone too slow again. But I'm sure you've all had that moment where we'll definitely be able to do it down into this first corner. I did it in the qualifying by accident, where you're just so hard on the brakes and you think, oh shit, apex time, I need to turn in. I've understeered again. Not the best example, but make sure you're smooth into that corner. And probably the most important thing about running just the best lap times, the guys who hit the world records, the top split winners, nailing that corner exit, getting on the throttle at just the right time, just as you hit the tightest part of the corner, straight on that throttle. And that's going to push the car out to the exit with the best speed you can get. See there, look, I'm improving. I was up 0.05 on my best split just because I went slowly into that corner and absolutely nailed the exit. I was gaining time that I'd previously thrown away on my optimal split just by absolutely pinpointing the right exit. That's all that winning top strength of field races, the top split, you got to be hitting your exits perfect. That's the biggest thing you should work on. So this has been, what time is it? This has been quite a long video. I thought this was going to be one qualifying session. I've driven around and blabbered on for 20 minutes. If you have anything more that you think I should talk about, or you have any problems, I'm always on the Cadillac forum on the iRacing. Throw a comment there, send me a message, whatever. Send me a replay if there's something that's happened in a race, some moment of chaos where you think you've spun for no reason, or you think you're losing time for no reason. More than happy to take a look at things like that. So yeah, I hope this is going to help someone. I'm sure it'll help someone at least. A pretty good qualifying there. Let me 1:22.6. We'll have a quick look on the current qualifying times, see where that's going to put me. That's a pretty good qualifying time, I think. That's third overall right now. 1:22. Was it 6:32? Is that the one I've just run? Yeah, so that's third out of 717, which is pretty good. I'll take that any day. The fastest time overall ever, well, not ever, in this season with this setup, is 22.503, which was actually me in a practice session. Kind of had remnants of Greg Murphy lap of the gods about it, but I'm sure some alien dude's gonna come and lap a second faster by the end of the week and take away all my glory. But anyway, that's enough from me. As I said, hope this helps. I might do a few more of these, a few more tracks as the weeks roll by. If there's anything I think I can say that might help people, I will, and you will know about it. And so, there we go. See you next time.